I saw this clip, right, courtesy of this guy called Mark Mastrandrea. Mark Mastrandrea. He's a person that has his brand called Iconic. I guess he's a startup guy. He interviewed George Heaton, one of the co-founders of Represent, again another prominent streetwear menswear label. I guess they probably characterize themselves mostly as kind of menswear or men's fashion, but you know, they do really great stuff as well. I think over the last few years they've definitely stepped up in terms of the level of quality. It definitely appeals to me more nowadays. I feel like they've kind of found their own voice, similar a bit to Matthew Buxton, whatever that brand was. Maybe they would have wanted to have it overlap. I think both of those brands, started off copying a lot of brands beforehand. Maybe a lot more Fear of God stuff, a lot of Rick Owens stuff, you know, whatever, Drapey stuff, whatever. But I think over time they've slowly found their way and they've kind of found their voice. So I think Represent have done that, and of course Buxton done that. And this George Heaton guy has obviously done really good because he's got his own personal brand that he kind of, you know, pushes out there in terms of what he gets up to. He's got that fitness brand that he's got 247 and whatever else on social. But I thought this clip was really fascinating because this is something that I, you know, have long fantasized about, right? In terms of the real lock-in, like if you're really operating on a high level of frequency, this is what a lock-in actually looks like. It sounds very toxic. It sounds very isolating, but maybe this is what it takes to really achieve things on the highest possible level.
No girlfriends, no going out, no television, no nothing. That's all I did. Train, work, read. During that time, from 2020 to 2024, where my business went from 7 million revenue to 95 million revenue, Jesus. All I did was read. All I did was literally go to work at 6 a.m, train, do the work, go home at 5, read for 3 hours, go to bed. Do the same thing for 4 years straight. I didn't let anything come in between me, my training, and my work. Nothing came in between. They were my priorities. My whole life is Represent. I needed to get to a point where, like, I felt good about myself.
So imagine that. Can you imagine living a life where all you do is work on what you want to work on, train to get your, you know, whatever, your body right, your mind right, and of course read to kind of feed your mind to kind of continue going on, giving you lessons and stuff, insights, ideas, whatever. Imagine what you could achieve in just a year. Forget 4 years. Imagine what you could achieve if you had zero distractions in that way, where you organize your life in a way where you avoid those things. Now the problem is practically real life. That means you're going to miss out on a bunch of weddings. You're going to miss out on a bunch of funerals. You're going to miss out on a bunch of gender reveals. You're going to miss out on a bunch of christenings. You're going to miss out on just a lot in a year. And the problem is something that I've realized as well. When I had that moment, I think just after I was like hanging out at Dawson and stuff, I purposely sort of like closed myself off to everybody. I kind of ran away a little bit and kind of, you know, did my own thing and wasn't really around the scene as much. What you realize is that, you know, especially when you purposely kind of step away, you realize quite quickly that you're not that important. You realize that you're not that important, and you realize that people soon is, you know, as soon as you maybe miss a couple of link ups, you stop replying to texts, you don't call people back when you should, people move on. And they move on, you know, with grace and whatever else. Other people come and kind of fill your spot, and people forget about you very, very quickly. Out of sight, out of mind, as they say. So that can sometimes be the most hurtful thing. Logging onto Instagram and seeing the people that you used to hang out with, you know, living their best life, doing their things without you because you've decided to pull away from them and to focus on what you need to focus on. And, you know, missing out on that kind of connection, missing out on that community, missing out on that friendship, on that relationship, whatever, that can be kind of a hard pill to swallow. But you will obviously, if you stick with it and you're successful, you'll pay dividends, right? Because you'll be able to, you know, look back and say, oh my God, all that hard work that I put in was for something. But I guess the only thing is that worth it, you know? Because what is the point of getting to that finishing line if you really don't have anyone to share it with? If you really don't have anyone else to kind of experience it with? You know what I mean? That's the only problem. But if your life is really about what you work, and your work is your life, and your life is your work, then maybe this is really what it takes to really achieve things on the highest level. Because I don't think it's a coincidence that what he said is what he said and the output is what you see. because his out for somebody who's operating because I think he mentioned on this particular pod, I've only listened to about half of it so far, but I think he says like in terms of revenue or whatever, they're making like triple digit millions, right? Fucking represent. They have stores all around the world. Like this guy is like doing very well. But if you see a lot of his stuff that he puts out on his kind of own personal brand side of things, there's a lot of stuff. He's working out a lot. He's traveling. He's doing this. He's doing that. And I guess to operate on that kind of level, you probably you can't afford to have a girlfriend. You can't afford to have a wife. You can't afford to have a husband. Like you really can't. It's probably gonna be incredibly selfish of you to try and share your life with somebody as you're going pedal to the metal, as you're going balls to the wall, trying to make it happen with your dream. It's probably not the fairest thing to do, to be like, yeah, come, I want to share, because you're not going to be able to do the normal things like go on dates. You're not going to be able to do the normal things like go and visit people's parents or go and hang out with their friends or do double dates or whatever. You can't do that because you have to get t-shirts printed. You have to fucking talk to a factory about spring, summer 2028 and shit, you don't really have time to do normal things. So it's sometimes, I think it's sometimes important maybe I'm talking to myself about this sort of thing. I think it's sometimes important to kind of to see and to hear from people who operate on a really high level what it actually takes, like legit what it actually takes. Because a lot of people would look at someone like a George Heaton and they want their life, right? A lot of people look at George Heaton and say, oh my god, I want his life, he looks so fucking cool, he drives this great car, he's got this great fucking lifestyle. But what they don't understand is that in order to be this guy, you kind of have to be kind of lonely, you kind of have to isolate yourself, you kind of have to cut yourself up from the world. You don't really have a regular life. You can't go on vacations. You can't do festivals. You probably can't even celebrate your own birthday, You kind of just have to keep on going. But I'm not going to lie, like, I kind of want to do this. I kind of do it anyway, right? In my own way, but not to that level. But I really kind of want to do this. I kind of want to, try and see what would happen if I did completely isolate myself from the outside world and just locked in a way that just, it kind of boggled the mind. It would really upset people, right? It would upset my family because I miss out on a bunch of shit. It would upset friends that I have because, I'd miss out on a bunch of shit that's important to them. And it would seem very selfish because I'd be prioritizing myself at all points. But in the end, the glory will be great. The glory is probably worth it. For me anyway, at least. I think the glory will be worth it because again, I'm not really a big friend person anyway. But I think the glory will be worth it. But it does sound kind of crazy, to just lock into a point where it's just like, what do you say? It's just like, it's just working out, reading, and concentrating on your brand. Rinse and repeat. And I guess replace your brand with whatever you're doing now, whatever you're into. Replace working out, whatever else you're into, do you know what I mean? But just those three pillars, nothing else is included. It seems kind of insane, but it does actually pay dividends and gets results, because if you look at stuff like this, for instance, right? George Heaton posted this recently and said, if anyone's seen my beautifully minimalistic large wheelbase, I think LWB Range Rover around LA, it got stolen last week from my house at 5 a.m. whilst I was showering. Miss her already. Everyone would ask her what the wheels were, but I could never find them online, so it's quite unique. So allegedly recently, just the other day, somebody stole this guy's Range Rover. So he doesn't have any friends, it seems like, or maybe he does, I don't know. He seems to live a very isolated lifestyle where he's kind of fully focused on his brand. But this is the reward you get from it. This is the reward you get from just focusing on you and nobody else. You get to drive, a car that looks like this, which is a completely blacked out Range Rover. Very English, by the way. It's a very British car to drive out there in LA. I'd assume a lot of people that will drive these type of SUVs will probably want to drive a Lambo or something else, or maybe a Maybach, I don't know, whatever. But I do love that he's carried over some of his British roots over there to the States. Completely blacked out. The wheels are fucking incredible, though. By the way, I don't doubt that he got a lot of compliments for these wheels. These fucking grills, or these rims, these wheels are fucking gorgeous. They're kind of like disc wheels. I don't have to describe them. They kind of look a bit similar to the wheels that they put on a Tesla Cybercab. Fucking incredible. Yeah, the whole thing is blacked out. Even the lights, even the plastic casing on it. Maybe it's translucent or something, but every part of that the car is just blacked out completely, which is fucking great. And it's all tinted as well, which you can do a lot more in the States than you can do here in the US. But unfortunately, that got stolen. So, That's one of the treats. That's one of the perks you get from cutting out every single person in your life. You get to be able to afford shit like this. But yeah, man, I saw that clip. I was like, you know what? It makes sense. It makes sense because the brand is popping. You know, the brand is fucking going ape shit. I feel like I see it everywhere nowadays. I feel like I see some new bits that just dropped recently. They've got different lines as well that they do. I think the pricing is also fairly decent too. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like even this, like this, you know, for like a brand, 180 for a hoodie is pretty decent. It's not, at least it's not charging, you know, 400 like Balenciaga for it. T-shirts are 100, again, a little bit pricey, but still, I feel like they'd be good quality. Sherlin Trapper hat. Oh, this is a nice. I really like this actually. This is one of my favorite pieces. I don't mind this at all. I think it's one size as well. Maybe it won't fit my head. I don't think it'll fit my head. This model looks like he's got a way smaller head than me, and it already looks a bit small, you know. This model here looks like he's got a way smaller head than me, and it already looks a little bit small on him. I don't think that hat would fit my absolute massive dome. They say what the models yeah, I don't know. But yeah, still, Represent do some good shit. Represent do some good shit. Check out Represent. Check out George Heaton. They do some good shit.